Palawan, a province in the Philippines, is a scattered collection of 1,780 islands and islets. It's a place where exotic wildlife roams free, fishing villages dot the coast, and UNESCO's World Heritage Site stands proud. Yet, it's a paradise under threat. 49 animal species and 56 plant species here are on the brink of extinction. USAID's Protect Wildlife initiative calls Palawan the hottest hotspot for wildlife trafficking in the Philippines. In 2017, the Palawan Provincial Board voted to divide the province into three: Northern, East Central, and Southern Palawan. The idea was to boost tourism and speed up basic services. Governor Jose Alvarez championed the plan. Civil society groups are wary of Alvarez's designs, saying his plan to divide Palawan is driven by a political agenda to create more congressional and local government seats for himself, his friends, allies, and family members. They also say that the governor did not consult properly with civil society and other special interest groups. The die is cast. Civil society is headed to this inevitable showdown against the ruling political powers. Hanging in the balance in this clash of David versus Goliath is the future of Palawan. Two contending groups emerged. The pro-division group, named 3-in-1, was spearheaded by Governor Alvarez and the Palawan provincial government. Those who were against dividing the province coalesced into the One Palawan movement.
Yes, magandang hapon po. What good do you think will it bring Palawan if it is split into three provinces?
It will be easier to manage for the next three governors after 2022. This law will take effect. Then it's a matter of management. Ngayon kasi, the whole province, the biggest province in the whole country. Then it's not divided into segments allowed by law. It will be very difficult for the other governors or the incoming governors to manage it. So we are doing this for the future generation.
Pag na-divide ang Palawan into three, definitely politicians talaga ang magbe-benefit. Kasi wala naman silang maliwanag at masusing pag-aaral tungkol sa ekonomiya, sa social economic aspect, okay, pati environment. Bakit politiko? 3 gobernador, 3 vice-gobernador, di ba? Tapos posible din dadagdagan mo yung congresspersons mo. Tapos yung mga provincial boards mo, madami. So ilang ilang budgets, no? Ilang politiko ang babayaran mo.
Not in touch, they are not consulting our people. They are not even going to the farm, to the place of work. They don't have a solidarity with the people. Pero lagi nilang ginagamit ang mga salitang people's initiative. Pero they don't understand. Yan ang mahirap sa politika natin, sa uri ng politika na ito. Maliit na mahirap na ng mga tao, hindi pa nila ini-empower, binibigyan ng halaga ang mga tao.
May mga pagbabago ng batas na sa hatian ng yaman ng kalikasan, 60% goes to the provincial government and only a little goes to the municipal and the barangay. No?
From our point of view, we see it as basically just for their own self-interest. They wanted to create all these political positions for their own benefit. And they wanted to establish these mini kingdoms that they can rule, and we see it as not really the answer to alleviate the poverty in Palawan.
Our lawyers were mobilized to study, take a hard look at all pertinent laws, no? COMELEC laws, local government code, laws on dividing provinces and LGUs, looking at Supreme Court jurisprudence. At nakita namin na dapat i-overlap at i-integrate yung arguments namin on ecology, general welfare, good governance. It was good, including economics and even biodiversity. Pumunta kami sa Commission on Elections para humingi ng positibong desisyon na kaming taga Puerto Princesa ay makaboto. 20% of the registered voters of Palawan come from Puerto Princesa. We lost that.
The government seemed to have already won the battle in the lower house in Congress, and they're going to the Senate, and it will only take about 2 more readings, and the bill is going to pass into law already. And so that time, the issue became very urgent that we have to act on it. So we tried to stop it in the Senate. We went there.
We prepared. We drafted our position paper. We sent it to the Senate through Senator Risa Ontiveros, identifying the bases. Example, there is no feasibility study, no environmental impact assessment. Because if you divide Palawan, we're talking of the last ecological frontier, what would be the socio-economic, environmental implications?
In fact, may karanasan kami na nagsabi ang isang senador, ganun din isang representative. Ay, hindi namin alam ito eh. Bago lang namin nakita itong ganito palang damdamin ng mga taga-Palawan. Parang huli na. Na-approve na.
We lost already the Senate, no? We lost Congress, we lost the COMELEC, and then we went to the Supreme Court. Nagain kami ng kaso. Certiorari Prohibition Mandamus versus the COMELEC.
We filed a case in the Supreme Court challenging the legality of the proposed bill. We also lost that.
Why was the case before the Supreme Court so important as a strategic litigation? Because we wanted to actually assert that there was lack of participation, transparency, there was a violation of our human rights for not being consulted on such a law, and then we also argued about the lopsided sharing of the revenue from national wealth. Na-dismiss mang ng Supreme Court yun. It was a good lesson. But the Supreme Court did not rule on the sharing of the revenue in national wealth. Ang sabi ng Korte Suprema sa decision, we will not touch on that and we will let the people decide in the plebiscite. We had a signature campaign to lodge the petition to President Duterte, but unfortunately, eventually, the law was signed by the President, yung RA 11259. So that affirmed it.
Republic Act na. Kailangan lang ng plebisito.
It was rigged. Pinwersa hanggang sa Senado. No? Walang pag-uusap sa mga tao patungkol sa division na ito.
And so it seems that the only recourse left is for us to face the proponents in the plebiscite. Although we don't want to do it, we are forced to go through the plebiscite. They have the manpower, they have the funding, which is actually the people's money or the taxpayers' money. They have the support of the local politicians. They seem to have figured out everything in their favor. They held these information campaigns, they go to municipalities, and people came to these events because they were handing out freebies, free canned goods, free rice, and even money.
Hindi man tayo nangangarap na manalo. Ang atin lang ay pag binalikan ito ng mga kabataan, no, decades from now, alam nilang tumayo tayo sa katotohanan kahit pa natalo tayo.
Sa lahat po ng palawin nyo, labanan po natin ang nilalakad nilang 3-in-1. Big no po tayo sa plebisito.
The pro-division folks would underestimate us. They would often say that there's just a few of us, or in their public pronouncements they would say that we're just limited to Facebook. But COVID happened, and so they were forced to stop everything that they were doing. And people suddenly they got stuck in their houses, and everyone was on social media. So we had a bit of a head start when it comes to social media.
At nakita namin doon na test talaga yung online online strategies para mapalaganap ang information sa mga mamamayan. So we had a Facebook page, yung One Palawan Facebook page, tapos yung mga researches namin, yung mga pag-aaral namin, pinupost doon. Yung academic institutions like the Western Philippines University, Palawan State University, Holy Trinity University, they also organized symposia and forum on the division of Palawan. Itong tatlong universities na to. And it was so wonderful to see students asking. Kasi they wanted to know, ano ba talaga ang dahilan? Maliwanag ba ang paglatag ng layunin? Di ba? Paano ba masiguro na magbe-benefit ang taga-Palawan? So, tapos yung legal research namin, sinimplify namin. Nilagay sa mga primers, nilagay namin sa PowerPoint, video kami, nagsalita kami, at pinalaganap yon. Nilagay sa USB, kasi COVID yon, hindi ka maka-in-person basta-basta. So, we had to purchase, donated ng mga USBs. We were recorded. Cynthia, myself, si Bishop, si Father Dick, pinalaganap yon.
At actually, yung mga materials namin, galing sa kanila lahat. So sila ang nagbigay ng mga dahilan. No? And that is where we discern. No?
The church people, napakahalaga ng role, particularly in Catholic Church, because they facilitated fora. 2 fora ginawa nila eh. Yung sa seminaryo, tapos yung Northern Priest, at yung 2 camps, pinagsalita para ma-enlighten ang mga kaparian tungkol sa mga argumento.
So it was December 16, we put up a big billboard, no? Doon sa harap ng simbahan ng Coleon, no? And then we also decided to place the pastoral letter on tarpaulins in all the chapels, no? Of Coleon for people to be aware. And it was all inside the church, sa mga walls ng mga simbahan namin. So, ibig within the perimeter, at dapat walang gagalaw doon. No? So, ang nangyari, talagang ginalaw. Pinangtanggal talaga.
Crucial din ang role ng mga kaparian, lalo pa sa norte, kasi yung 2 doon sa gagawing probinsya, yung isa ay yung Rojas, which is one of the biggest municipality, and also Taytay, ang pinakakampi na din mga kaparian. Yung isa doon ay yung former bishop, si Bishop Juanich. Siya ay isa major voice in campaigning for the no vote. So, dahil may network din yung mga parishes doon, so they're instrumental in spreading our information.
Kasi naging klaro ang issue nung nagsalita na yung mga abogado natin sa ILAC, yung One Palawan movement. Siyempre, may analysis sila.
Because all priests, even in the south, buo po ang buong kaparian ng norte ay talagang buo sila sa kampanyang ito. And people believe them, no? At yung sur din, although wala silang pastor letter, but yung mga Cuyunan priests from Palawan, really campaign in their own way. Kaya talaga namang nakita natin na landslide talaga ang resulta ng boto para sa One Palawan.
Nakatulong din yung mga national media, kahit ang mga national media, no? Nadidinig kasi rin dito yung mga DCMM, DCRH na yan, Veritas, ano?
Na-invite kami doon sa national media rin para ma-interview sa GMA, TV Patrol, at na-interview din, no? Even Rappler, ANC, I remember, besides the local media. Kasi ang politicians, may they own certain media outfits, no? So, hirap kami doon.
But on the evening mismo on the night of the plebiscite, we had a vigil. All the church had a vigil. We really prayed for it. No? And we posted also our vigils. No? So, na sana mas maliwalagan ng mga tao. No? And kinabukasan ay umulan ng malakas. Napakalakas ng ulan.
Pero marami akong nakitang kasama namin sa bukid, lumalakad lang. Basa sila. Pag uwi nila, siyempre hindi kagaya ng ordinary political exercise, election na may mga pakain-pakain. Wala naman. COVID times yun pa. Lalakad lang. Pag magbuto sila, lalakad ulit. Basa naman ang ulan. Talagang maawa ka rin sa mga tao. Pero gusto lang pumunta doon at mag-say na ganitong nasa dami namin. I was very much inspired.
Yung mga nabayaran lang, hindi pumunta ng butuhan. Yung mga One Palawan, desidido. They went to the voting places. That also made a lot of difference. No? And we felt na God was working through our prayers and our vigils.
Nananatiling one ang Palawan. Pinroklama na ng Board of Canvassers ng COMELEC na panalo ang no na boto kaugnay sa paghati sa Palawan sa 3 probinsya, ang Palawan Oriental, Palawan del Sur at Palawan del Norte. Sa ginawang plebisito, 172,304 ang bumoto ng no, 122,223 ang nag-yes. Ayon sa COMELEC, 60% ang naging voter turnout.
At nung madinig namin ang yung result, antindi ng dating talaga. O talaga sa totoo. It's really the victory of the people.
Importante yung paralegal kasi meron kaming mga seminars para alam nila ano ang rights nila. Tapos kung poll watcher ka, ano ang dapat ang papel mo. Tapos ano ba tong eleksyon? Kasi lahat hindi naman lumalahok doon. And for the first time, the Save Palawan movement had to engage with the COMELEC. We had to be accredited, we had to get poll watchers for every NGO.
And then during the plebiscite, may bayanihan pa rin kasi lahat talaga nagbantay sa pagbibilang ng boto because advantageous sa amin at it was, the vote was counted manually. And so, yung sa pagbibilang ng boto, lahat nakabantay. Ultimong although kulang kami sa poll watchers kasi nga wala kami masyadong pondo, yung mga kapulisan, yung mga guro, yung simbahan, yung NAMFREL, yung mga watchdogs ng botohan, nagbantay talaga na maging maayos yung election at wala masyadong mangyaring dayaan. And also there's some changes in the kind of leadership that we have in the provincial government. We can see now that they are trying to involve people in dialogues too on issues. Now there's public consultation which should have been done for the division issue.
The people na kaharap namin during the debates, they don't talk about it. They have reached out to us and kasama namin ngayon investigating about mining. So I think it was a lesson to the politicians na pag nagmamadali tayo, hindi tayo nagkukonsulta at hindi tayo nag-aaral, ito yung mangyayari.
That the church is standing for their rights, for the truth, At ang naging actually yung resulta sa amin nun, we were very confident now to engage people, to dialogue with people, the politicians and so on.
May impact talaga, lalo na nung primerong nangyari. Pero little by little, that impact is being listened. Ganun ang nangyari sa EDSA, ganun din eh. Pag hindi talaga ito laging nababalik-balikan, at nasasabi sa mga tao ang pangyayaring yun, mawawala yun. Pero parang na yun, yun parang Exodus story na. Yun parang EDSA na.
The victory is already part of the history of Palawan, and it proved to the people, it's a testament to the fact that the small people can beat the giant and that the impossible can actually be possible.